Hello, shipping! So nice to see you. It's a funny thing. In a show about friendship, we've actually seen quite a few couples. From established marriages like the Cakes, to new families like Cadence and Shining Armor, to Cranky and Matilda, and Big Macintosh and Sugarbelle. Yet romance is not often a concept for our main six. Twilight had a brief attraction that went nowhere, and I don't think Rarity's various crushes ever reached further than surface-level looks. Yet by season's end, we at least know that Pinkie married and started to raise a family with Cheese Sandwich. And should you think that a comic covering their first date is superfluous or treads predetermined ground, I would point out one simple fact. Older folks like myself often saw the direction an episode would take based simply on experience. It was the journey and not the destination that held my interest. I approached this comic with the same perspective. Yet there's a parallel perspective demanding my attention. A style of storytelling that got its start with Neon Genesis Evangelion, and includes films like Voices from a Distant Star and Your Name. It even found expression in instant noodle commercials. A focus on romance that supersedes a crisis known as sekai-kei. It's the first festival of the two princesses since Celestia and Luna retired, and Twilight is all in a dither about the preparations. Even Pinkie Pie's arrival does little to calm her as the party pony notes the plans are only a start. It seems that Pinkie has been communicating with Cheese Sandwich for a good while, and has taken a lot of his own party techniques to heart. And seeing her enthusiasm, Twilight promises to invite Cheese Sandwich to help plan. Pinkie is so excited that she doesn't devote much energy to greeting her friends, who are also present to plan the celebration. Even Discord's arrival via train doesn't faze her much. But once Cheese does arrive, he and Pinkie set about exploring venues, even spelunking down a sinkhole to consider an underground celebration. Pinkie's focus keeps wandering the more they spend time together, to the point where she has to consult her own reflection. Her subconscious gives her a stern talking to, and Pinkie resolves to tell Cheese Sandwich how she really feels. Except she can't because suddenly all sounds have been muted, which is really going to mess with the Appaloosan throat singing performance. Today's art comes courtesy of Tony Cusisto, a fandom comic artist known as Pencils. He earned a place on the official comic crew and has been the main artist for several issues. In the past, I've noticed that his artwork seems to be in conflict with itself. Cusisto draws tremendous details into his backgrounds, and that passion is apparent as almost every panel in his comic features background elements. Only a few panels take place in either a void or a gradient background, and in those cases it's usually a high emotion scene. For an example of this level of detail, consider this one tree. The use of a black fill helps give the tree definition, even without the shading from colors Heather Breckle. A pair of bushes in the royal garden features amazing detail, as Cusisto draws almost every leaf to make sure it's the most detailed element in the panel, which is part of the duality I see in his work. Compare that level of detailing against the pony's usual simple design. As much as I enjoy the dedication, it looks like this was made for a different comic series. That's not to say the ponies themselves are visually boring. Another part of Cusisto's work is that he's willing to draw ponies at a variety of angles, and with an amazing array of expressions. A good match to someone as expressive as Pinkie Pie. There's also a lot of fun inside jokes here, such as stilt walkers colored to match the very first Celestia and Luna toys. And this ice sculptor pony with the unique set of hooves is reportedly based on a real-life horse breed. Yet the most unsung effort here might go to Neil Utake, who assembles the issue's lettering. Note how when Pinkie is suffering the same muting, her word bubble still traces the shape of full words. What is she saying? Excellent head turn? Extreme art does this? Play with the wording if you wish. I still got a review to finish. So why do we use the term sekai-kei when talking about this comic? Though there's no hard definition, sekai-kei is a genre of storytelling in which the relationship between two characters is the central focus. The larger society and its actions are, at best, background noise. And I hear you say, Silver, you boisterous buzzard. That sounds like any romance story out there. The key difference is that sekai-kei often takes place during a global crisis, with a possible Armageddon looming. By contrast, today's comic isn't nearly so high in stakes, but it is an important day. Consider that this first festival of the two sisters is a big deal on multiple fronts. We do see a little of Twilight in her new role as Equestria's leading princess, and she's not off to a great start. The Summer Sun setback tried to put the whole Twilight Nanas thing to rest.
So I focused on delegating and trusting others. It's been great!
But the ending of the end did break that calm as Twilight suffered a personal crisis.
Ever since Celestia told me I was taking over, I've been gaining confidence. Then I find out it's all a lie.
So now we're seeing a Twilight who is trying to rebuild confidence while honoring her idol, Princess Celestia. And Luna is there too. But I'm not crazy about how she goes about this. Shouting at an ice sculptor from a balcony isn't a great way to portray a leader. Would have preferred it if Twilight had kept her cool publicly and still indulged in a freakout behind closed doors. At the same time, we do see some confidence come to the surface as she assures Pinkie that she can get Cheese Sandwich to appear. And we learn from Cheese that Twilight dispatched 2 dragons to issue the summons. Now, I gotta wonder if she chose Spike and Smolder to take care of this, or if Twilight suddenly has a crew of dragons ready to go. And how gentle are these drakes? They don't have the best history of peaceful communication. We also learn that Rainbow Dash is the leader of the Wonderbolt's flying squad for the festival, a chance at command after her debacle at Twilight's coronation. We don't get to see much of them practicing or Rainbow's learning command. Applejack and Rarity have a single panel cameo, but their efforts receive even less focus. This story is asking its audience to put the larger picture in the background and instead focus in on Pinkie's relation with Cheese, which is adorable to watch. There are plenty of awkward pauses followed by joking around, and then a moment's distraction. There's also some adorable play between them, like when Cheese shields himself from Pinkie's strange and magical beauty, or a little play at a reflection pool. And then there's flirting via puns. Flirting with puns. You know, when it comes to shipping, I'm often a fan of opposites attract. But not in this case. 10 out of 10, one true punning, all hail cheesy pie, bring on the offspring. Yes, I am this fickle. My view on relationships in fiction is that it's a journey. We as the audience want to be a part of that. So often in movies and other stories, I see a set of protagonists get together because that's just what's expected. It's not as common to feel like we've gotten to go on a journey with them, with all the highs and lows. So getting to see this interaction flow from the characters is very enjoyable and sweet. But then there's this practical part of my brain that asks certain questions, like why these two were even allowed to explore a cavern made available by a sinkhole. If you apply even a fraction of modern-day rules to this idea, they shouldn't be allowed down there, let alone hold ideas of a subterranean concert. But this is why I make the sekai-kei comparison. This celebration may not be world-ending apocalypse as often seen in anime stories, but the approach feels very similar. Case in point, a lot of stories under this ill-defined genre feature teenagers who simultaneously take part in military operations against world-ending threats, but are still expected to go to school and complete their homework. Just as with this comic, one can ask why this is even allowed given the situation. But some stories invite us to get swept up in the emotion rather than the logistics. Whether or not you will enjoy this comic may come down to how you view that approach. And I highlight this aspect because this underground scene is pivotal to their relationship, the story at large, and the reader's acceptance. Now, some criticism for the sekai-kei genre is the argument that, in a male protagonist story, the female is often an object for love rather than an independent person. She is often either motherly, reliant, or a tsundere character. Often the female character is so powerful that she becomes a means by which the male protagonist can influence the world. None of that really applies here. While Cheese may gain more influence through his relationship with Pinkie, I don't think that's even a factor for him. He just enjoys her company and her amazing life. Another deviation from the typical sekai-kei approach is the fact that we do check in on another couple, Discord and Fluttershy. Discord seems to be making an attempt at doing things the more pedestrian way, but he's struggling with the idea of not getting to be his impulsive, creative self. Fortunately, Fluttershy is there to keep him in line. I don't think she's using the stare here, more just a disapproving look that only works because she's so important to him. In contrast to Pinkie and Cheese, I actually friendship these two more than romantically. There's something wonderfully pure about the affection this otherwise reprehensible being shows to the quiet pony. Why are we seeing these two interact? In some ways, I think it's a quick break from Pinkie and Cheese without losing the theme of a close relationship. But I think it's also there to raise the question of, is this sudden silence Discord's doing? I don't think it is. In fact, I think it'd be a terrible mistake to follow that path. Discord has already exhausted any goodwill due to the apocalypse he nearly engineered. If he's the cause of grief once again, even unintentionally, I fear his character will be truly trapped in the antagonist role. What is likely the cause for the sounds of silence? Well, take a look at the cavern these two explore. The only green I see is a strange plant that is later seen on Cheese's hoof and is growing on the normally pristine Canterlot. I think Pinkie and Cheese's fun might have had unintended consequences. We'll know next month. This first part reminds me a bit of Equestria games, a large venue in which several stories could take place, but we focus on one uniquely personal experience. I find Pinkie and Cheese's interactions adorable and well worth the time, but there is also a part of me that finds that certain events happen just because rather than flowing from the characters. If nothing else, let me know if any of the logistical questions I mentioned come to mind while you were reading, or if you were swept up by the story. Now, if you'll pardon me, we are about to enter the month of love, which means visiting more shipping upon the world. None can escape shipping, Blissy Boo, especially not you. Thanks to all my Patreon supporters, whose help keeps these videos self-sustaining. If you enjoyed this video, consider supporting After the Fact through Patreon or Ko-fi. Links are in the description. And thanks to these artists who gave their time and talent to draw my OC. If you have art you'd like to share, you can tag MLP-Silver-Quill on DeviantArt or Twitter. Links to each art piece and any fandom-made media are in the description as well. I'm Silver-Quill. Thanks for watching.